Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in life when you must decide who you are and what you're willing to tolerate. You see, when you chase someone, you send a message that you're available at all costs, that your worth is negotiable. And the truth is, no one values what comes too easy. The moment you decide to stop running after people, to stop explaining your worth, that's the moment you flip the script. Let me tell you something people don't realize what they have until it's no longer there. It's in your absence that your value becomes undeniable. When you walk away, when you choose to put yourself first and close the door, it does something. It shakes a man to his core. Why? Because suddenly he's forced to face the truth he was never entitled to you, and he could lose you forever. The silence you give, the absence you leave, it echoes louder than any words you could ever say. When you walk away, you create a vacuum. And it's in that space that a man realizes the difference between what's ordinary and what's irreplaceable. He'll feel it in every quiet moment, in every empty room, that someone is missing. But here's the key: you don't walk away hoping he'll come back. No. You walk away because you deserve better. You walk away because your peace is not negotiable. You walk away because you refuse to be an option when you were born to be a priority. And here's what happens next. If that man truly sees your value, he will come back, not because you asked, not because you pleaded, but because he saw you stand strong, unshaken, and unbothered. You see, confidence is magnetic. Self-respect is irresistible. The woman who walks away with her dignity intact is unforgettable. She becomes the standard. She becomes the one that got away. And when a man realizes that you're not a game to be played, but a blessing to be honored, something in him shifts. But remember this: if he comes back, it's not because you waited, it's because you elevated. You chose you refused to settle. And that's the kind of energy that makes people realize they should have never let you go. There's a truth about distance that most people overlook. It creates space for reflection, for realization, and for clarity. When you step back and remove yourself from a situation, especially one where you feel undervalued or unseen, you shift the dynamic entirely. You see, when you're always present, always available, and always within reach, your value can be taken for granted. It's not that people are always ungrateful, it's that they become comfortable with your presence, almost blind to what you bring to their lives. But when you pull back, when you choose to take a step away, everything changes. Suddenly, your absence becomes noticeable. The space you once filled becomes a void that can't be ignored. That distance allows a man to see what life feels like without you in it. And often it's in that silence that the realization hits you are a gift, not a given. Distance also creates curiosity. When you stop calling, texting, or showing up, it triggers something in the mind. Questions start to form. Why did she pull back? Why is she so quiet? Where did she go? That curiosity pulls focus back to you, not because you demanded attention, but because you removed it. And when you do that, you shift the power. You've moved from being the pursuer to being the one pursued. But there's more to it than just how they see you. The value of distance isn't only about creating absence in their lives, it's about creating presence in your own. When you walk away, you reclaim your energy. You get time to reconnect with yourself, to remember who you are outside of someone else's view of you. That space isn't just for them to miss you, it's for you to rediscover your worth. And that's the real power here. When you remove yourself, you remind people that you're not afraid to leave, that you're not dependent on anyone's validation to feel whole. Distance says, I respect myself enough to step away when I'm not valued. That kind of strength is rare. And trust me, it gets noticed. Because a man can't miss you if you never give him the chance to. So let distance do its work. Let it create room for reflection. Let it show you how strong you are on your own and remind them of who they had in their lives. When you choose to step back, you don't lose, you regain your power, and more often than not, that's when they finally begin to see you for who you are. There's something unshakable about a person who knows their worth and refuses to settle for anything less. When you carry yourself with self-respect, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. It shows in the way you walk, in the way you speak, and in the way you respond to treatment that doesn't align with your value. Self-respect is quiet but powerful, and it commands attention without demanding it. When you decide to no longer accept less than you deserve, something shifts not just in you, but in the people around you. It's as if the world begins to notice the boundaries you've set. Boundaries that say, I will not beg for your time, I will not fight for your respect, and I will not chase your affection. You don't have to argue or convince anyone to see your worth, because your actions do all the talking. You simply walk away from anything or anyone that makes you feel like you're too much or not enough. And here's the truth people notice. They notice when someone stands firm in their standards. They notice when you refuse to play games or compromise your dignity for their attention. A man, especially, will take note of a woman who carries herself with self-respect because it shows confidence. Confidence is magnetic. It draws people in because it is rare. And it is real. There's no desperation, no pleading, no seeking approval, just a calm assurance that says, I know what I bring to the table and I won't lower myself to keep a seat. Self-respect also creates a mirror for others. When you respect yourself, it sets a tone. It tells others how to treat you. If you let someone take you for granted or disrespect you, you silently give them permission to continue. But when you walk away, when you ignore the behavior that doesn't honor you, it forces them to reflect. It forces them to question their own actions, to wonder why you didn't tolerate what so many others might have. And that moment, that reflection, makes them realize just how strong you are. It's not arrogance and it's not pride, it's a deep understanding that you are worthy of being cherished, of being valued, of being treated with the love and respect you give so freely to others. When you hold to that truth and let go of anything that diminishes it, you don't lose. You rise. You step into a higher version of yourself, and in doing so, you attract what's meant for you. Because here's the thing about respect: when you give it to yourself first, others can't help but follow. They either rise to meet your standards, or they fall away. And that's not a loss, that's a win. Self-respect doesn't just command attention, it filters out the people who were never meant to be in your life to begin with. It makes room for the ones who see your worth and are willing to rise up to meet it. So when you walk with self-respect, understand this: you are not losing people, you are teaching them how to value you. There's a strange truth about human nature: we tend to value what feels just out of reach. People crave what they can't have, not because they are selfish or cruel, but because scarcity creates desire. When something or someone is too easily available, it's easy to overlook their importance. The mind tricks us into thinking that what comes freely will always be there. It's not until access is denied, not until something feels like it's slipping away, that we wake up to its value. This is why walking away, stepping back, and removing yourself from someone's life can completely shift their perspective. When you were there, always answering the call, always showing up, always giving your presence, became something they expected, something they didn't even have to think about. But the moment you decide to stop, the moment you take away your time, your energy, and your attention, that's when the craving begins. It's as if the sudden void becomes unbearable. The mind fixates on it, asking, why can't I have this anymore? And the more you're unavailable, the more your value increases. It's in this space of absence that the game changes. What was once ordinary suddenly feels rare. What was once taken for granted now becomes precious. That's because people don't chase what's easy to reach, they chase what feels just out of their grasp. It's not the prize they've already claimed that excites them, it's the one that requires effort, patience, and persistence. The harder it is to obtain, the more valuable it becomes. This is why ignoring someone, walking away, and removing yourself sends such a powerful message. It tells them you're not an option to be taken lightly. It reminds them that your worth is not up for negotiation. It places you in a position where you are no longer running after them, but instead you become the one they long for. Because the truth is, nothing drives desire like a challenge. When someone realizes they can't have you as easily as they thought, they're forced to reflect on what they had and why they're losing it. And here's the beauty of it: this shift doesn't require words. You don't have to beg for their attention. You don't have to argue for your place in their life. The silence of your absence does all the talking. It creates a longing that wasn't there before, a curiosity about why you've pulled back, and a craving to earn back what they thought they had. But you must understand this: you're not walking away to manipulate anyone. You're walking away because you refuse to be undervalued. Your absence is not a trick, it's a statement. It says, if you can't see my worth when I'm here, then perhaps you'll feel it when I'm gone. And that is a truth people cannot ignore. Because the harder it becomes to have you, the more they begin to see just how valuable you really are. It's human nature to chase what feels rare. And when you pull back, you become that rarity. You become unforgettable. There's a profound power in silence that most people underestimate. In a world where everyone is quick to react, quick to defend, and quick to prove their point, silence stands out like a roar. Silence says what words can't. It speaks of self-control, of dignity, of strength, and of a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. When you choose to be silent instead of arguing, pleading, or explaining yourself, you send a message: I will not engage where my value is not recognized. That's a language louder than any words could ever be. When someone mistreats you, disrespects you, or begins to take you for granted, the instinct for most people is to fight back, to explain, or to demand better treatment. But the truth is, the more you argue or plead, the less impact your words have. Over time, they become noise easily ignored, easily dismissed. But silence cannot be ignored. Silence creates a void that forces someone to think. It forces them to question, to reflect, to wonder what went wrong. It makes them uncomfortable because they can no longer avoid the truth. In the absence of your words, they're left alone with their own thoughts, and that is where the shift begins. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting to every disrespectful action or careless word, you take back your power. You stop giving someone the satisfaction of controlling your emotions. Silence is not weakness, it's control. It's saying, I choose where I invest my energy, and I won't waste it here. That level of restraint is powerful because it shows that you are not desperate to be heard, validated, or understood. You are secure in who you are, and you don't need to fight for someone to see your worth. People often don't realize the weight of silence until they feel it. When you stop reaching out, stop explaining, and stop showing up, it sends a stronger message than any long conversation ever could. It tells them you've removed your energy and presence because you will no longer participate in a dynamic that doesn't serve you. It forces them to notice your absence, to feel the emptiness where you used to be. And in that stillness, they begin to understand the gravity of what they've lost. Silence also creates mystery. When you stop reacting, it leaves people wondering what you're thinking, where you stand, and what you'll do next. That uncertainty is powerful because it shifts the focus back onto you. Instead of you chasing them, they begin to think about you. Instead of you explaining yourself, they begin to reflect on their actions. But here's the most important thing about silence: it's not about them, it's about you. It's about choosing peace over chaos. It's about realizing that you don't owe anyone a response, an explanation, or access to your energy. Silence is self-respect. It's a decision to step back and let your actions speak instead of your words. And when you do that, you communicate something undeniable: I am not easily moved. I am not desperate. I will not fight for a place where I don't belong. The beauty of silence is that it gives you the upper hand not through manipulation, but through composure. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary arguments or justify yourself to someone who doesn't value you, you show them that their behavior doesn't define you. Your worth is not up for debate. And your silence says that loud and clear: in time, The absence of your voice becomes louder than anything you could have said. People begin to feel it, to question it, to crave what they no longer have access to. And that's the lesson. Sometimes silence is not just the best response, it's the only response. It's a declaration of your strength, your worth, and your refusal to settle for anything less than what you deserve. Silence speaks louder than words because it doesn't seek validation, it commands respect. There is a natural law that governs life, and that is the simple truth that energy always returns to its source. What you pour into others, what you invest in a relationship, and what you give of yourself, it all creates a connection. That energy does not disappear, it lingers. And when you step back, when you pull away, the absence of your energy is felt in ways that are undeniable. Whether or not a person understands it immediately, they will, in time, feel the weight of what you brought into their life. That's because energy has a way of circling back to where it once felt nurtured, supported, and valued. When you care deeply, when you love with intention, and when you give your time, presence, and emotions to someone, you create a bond that cannot simply be erased. You leave an imprint, an impression so strong that even when you walk away, that energy stays behind, like a shadow of who you are. And here's what happens when a man realizes that your energy is no longer there, when he can no longer feel the warmth of your care or the consistency of your attention. That absence begins to weigh on him. Suddenly, the comfort he once overlooked becomes the very thing he longs for. You see, most people don't recognize the energy others bring until it's gone. When you're always there, showing up, giving, and supporting, it's easy for someone to take it for granted. It becomes normal, expected, and even unappreciated. But when you pull back, when you choose to stop giving so freely, the difference is felt almost immediately. It creates a void, an emptiness where your presence used to live. And that's when a person starts to reflect. They remember the laughter, the comfort, the peace, and the light you brought. They remember how they felt when you were around. And it dawns on them that not everyone carries that kind of energy. This is why walking away is so powerful. You're not chasing, you're not begging, and you're not forcing someone to see your worth. Instead, you're letting your energy speak for itself. And when you do that, it forces others to confront the truth you were the source of something they may never find again. That realization doesn't happen when you're fighting to stay or when you're constantly reminding someone of your value. It happens in your absence, in the silence you leave behind, because energy always makes its presence known whether you're there or not. But here's what's even more important when you pull your energy back. You also give yourself the opportunity to recharge, to redirect that love, that care, and that presence back to where it belongs you. You become your own source again. You stop depleting yourself for someone who doesn't appreciate it, and you allow yourself to grow, to heal, and to thrive. That's the beauty of energy. It is always flowing, always moving, and when you reclaim it, you attract better. You attract people, situations, and opportunities that reflect the love and effort you give. And here's the irony: when you stop chasing, stop giving endlessly, and stop pouring your energy into someone who doesn't see it, that's when they begin to feel it the most. They feel it in the quiet moments, in the spaces where you used to be, and in the emotions that no one else can quite replicate. That energy you gave so freely begins to call them back, not because you're chasing them, but because they are drawn to the light that they once took for granted. So understand this: what you give to others will always be remembered. Your energy is unique, it's irreplaceable, and it always returns to its source. Whether that person comes back to you or not, the impact of what you gave is undeniable. And if they do come back, it won't be because you chased after them. It will be because they felt your absence, they remembered your value, and they realized that the energy you brought into their life was not ordinary. You are the source, and that kind of energy always finds its way back. In the end, you must remember this: your energy is precious, and it is not for everyone. When you pour into someone's life, when you love deeply and give selflessly, you are offering something rare and powerful. But if that energy is not respected, valued, or reciprocated, you owe it to yourself to walk away. Not to punish them, not to prove a point, but to protect what is sacred within you. Because here's the truth: when you step back, when you reclaim your energy, the absence you leave behind will speak louder than anything you could ever say. People will feel it. They will remember the light, the peace, and the love you brought. And if they are meant to return, they will. Not because you begged, but because your energy reminded them of what they lost. So stand firm in your worth. Never chase, never beg, and never settle. Let your absence teach the lesson your presence could not. Be the source of your own strength, and trust that the energy you carry will always attract what is meant for you. Your value is undeniable, and those who truly see it will rise to meet it.